Okay, so it is true there are a few jokes about fruitcakes, but I can guarantee you my recipe is delicious, and that's no joke. My secret ingredient, marzipan. So to make a fruitcake, well, isn't it all about the fruit? And that's what I like to start with, the fruit base. 5 cups of dried fruits, and this makes 24 individual fruitcakes. I have in my bowl some chopped up prune, a cup of chopped dates. Let me just finish cutting up my cup of dried apricots, and I'll add this to the bowl. And a cup each of dried cherries and raisins. You can certainly personalize your fruitcake fruit combination, whatever you know your family and friends like. Just so long as you have a total of 5 cups of dried fruit. Last addition to this bowl, a cup of raw, unpeeled almonds. Whole. When my grandma used to make fruitcakes, she would start them months in advance and then every week baste them with a liquid. So I'm starting by marinating or steeping the fruits and the almonds in a liquid. I'm adding 3/4 of a cup of apple juice. Now, as the fruits absorb the liquid, this is a great opportunity to build in some flavor. So a teaspoon of ground ginger, a teaspoon of ground cardamom, which is beautifully fragrant, and half a teaspoon of black pepper. The warmth from the ginger and the warmth from the pepper balances out the sweetness in the fruit. I'll give this a little stir just to toss everything together, but I want to let this sit, ideally overnight, up to 24 hours. Now, you don't have to put it in the fridge, just let it sit on the kitchen counter. So let me cover this up and get it out of the way. I have a bowl of the fruit that I already got started. And just look at this fruit. It has plumped up, almost doubled in size after 24 hours. So I'm gonna set this aside for now and start on that batter. So marzipan is the base for the batter. And this is the recipe I made earlier. And I need to weigh 200 grams. Perfect. I'm saving the remaining marzipan for covering the top of my fruitcakes after they're baked. So the first thing I do is break up the marzipan into just chunks in the body of a food processor. So I've got my marzipan and an orange. I'm using the entire orange. So I like to trim off the stem end and just cut the orange into quarters just to check for any seeds. Skin, the pulp, the membranes, that really gives structure, but a great flavor to the fruitcake. And for additional moisture, 3 more tablespoons of apple juice. And now I'll puree this until it's smooth. I'll be pureeing this again when I add my next round of ingredients. 1/2 cup of dark brown sugar and 3 eggs. The brown sugar can go right in. In go the eggs, and another whir around in the food processor. All right, now for the dry ingredients, 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. And a teaspoon of baking powder. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'll just sift this all together. And then I'll pour this orange marzipan batter on top of the flour. All it takes is a quick stir to bring this fruitcake batter together. There we go, the batter's combined. Now back to my soaked fruits and nuts. As you can see, this fruitcake is all about the fruit. Virtually a 1-to-1 fruit to batter ratio. The marzipan is what's going to guarantee I've got perfectly sweet and beautifully moist fruitcakes. To make the individual fruitcakes, you don't need anything fancier than 2 muffin tins. I do like to use an ice cream scoop for even portioning. And just drop them right into the tin. I lightly grease the tins before I start filling them. Now, it's a nice idea just to take a moment and just level the tops of the fruitcakes. Lovely. These are ready for the oven. I've preheated it to 325, and these only take 30 minutes to bake. I check the doneness like any cake, inserting a skewer in the center. When it comes out clean, I know my individual fruitcakes are done. After you've pulled your fruitcakes from the oven, you want to let them cool in the tin for about 20 minutes, and then turn them out onto a cooling rack to cool completely. But it's time to add a little polish to these. And that's where the rest of my marzipan comes in. Just like before, I'm gonna roll out my marzipan. This time, to cover the fruitcakes, I want a marzipan layer that's quite thin, about 1/8 of an inch. What I've done is select a cookie cutter that covers just the top of each of the fruitcakes. And I know that size is perfect. Go. I'll be able to re-roll these scraps for my other fruitcakes. And then it's up to you if you want to add a little decorative detail. I've got a petite cutter just for the center. That way it kind of reveals a bit of the fruitcake center inside. So to get the marzipan to stick, I just take some extra apple juice and brush on the bottom side of the marzipan and place it right on top of the fruitcake. And believe me, it stays in place. I'll keep assembling my marzipan fruitcakes, but you have to see what they look like inside. Oh, look at all that fruit. The spices are in there, and of course, the marzipan.